Hello and welcome to the Hero Spouse. I'm Kendra Ruth, here to answer one of your questions about marriage and midlife crisis. Today we have an anonymous female left behind and forward-moving spouse with a bomb drop of May 8th, 2021 and a date of marriage of 1998. He has an at-home MLCer who is a high-energy read player. He says, in previous questions, I referenced our children's marriages. Both went off beautifully, although the awkwardness between my wife and I remained. I set in my mind to try and get some answers after the weddings, and I did. Recently, my MLCer went out of town, again to the same friend they have been going to for the past more than 3 years. When I learned about the extended stay in a text, I confronted her about the true nature of the friendship and said, we need to get this straightened out. Of course, I was met with the normal, I'm wrong response, and why was I trying to ruin her time away? I have no idea how this will be when she returns, so how do I approach the impending lies and pushback? I should note that I heard multiple phone conversations with the friend that were much more than just everyday conversation, including her saying I love you to them in a very romantic connotation. It's worth noting that the friend is a much younger female. So, we've talked about this before. And first thing is that we're going to treat this like any other alienator, even though it is a woman in a heterosexual marriage who is going to a female alienator. So moving over toward a same-sex alienator. Okay, but it's still infidelity. It's still adultery. We're treating it just the same. Now, she may deny it and use that it is a same-sex person as one of the means to deny it. Well, yeah, it's a woman, so that might be one of the things she's using. Maybe it's that, oh, she's younger than me. Of course not. All of those could be parts of her excuses. You just don't let her. One of the things that you don't do is she's trying to deflect by making it about you. She's trying to deflect by making it about your paranoia. But here's the thing. She already knows. So here's what you don't do. Do not tell her how it hurts you. She knows. Because she knows what she's doing is wrong. She probably didn't need to know how it hurt you in the beginning or any of those other times. The only way they need to know it hurts is if they think we don't care. Sometimes there's legitimacy to that when some of us think, my spouse doesn't love me, doesn't care about me, they don't show anything. But they do know what they're doing is wrong. They know when they cross the line. They know if they're having an affair. We don't need to explain that to them. We don't need to explain why an affair is an affair, why it's wrong, blah, blah, blah. They already know that. So we don't need to go into explaining the little nuances of it, even though we're always doing that. Or why, well, I told you I wanted out, so it doesn't count now. And yours is at home. So you were met with the you're wrong response. You're not. She knows it. Why were you trying to ruin her time away? So now it's about you trying to ruin her fun. It's not about you. It is about her and her relationship with somebody that is inappropriate. She already knows it. Really, you don't need to tell her it's inappropriate. She knows it's inappropriate. What the next thing you do is, what kind of boundary do you need to set? There's some boundaries you don't need to show, or you don't need to tell them about a boundary that is already known. What you need to do is set a consequence. So there are some boundaries we already know in a marriage. We know adultery is not allowed in a marriage unless you're in a relationship where you have an agreed upon open marriage. Then adultery is already out of it. It's off the table. That's how marriage works. it's not one of those, marriage is not one of those things where we have to discuss it to agree on the other direction. We have to agree on an open marriage. We don't agree on the other way around. It's assumed that adultery is off the table unless we bring it up. Okay? So, we're going to go on this with the automatic assumption. And she already knows. You've had this discussion multiple times. Adultery is not permitted in your relationship. So where's your boundary? You shouldn't have to tell her, here's the boundary. When you break this, there's going to be a consequence. She's already broken the boundary. Where's the consequence? That's the thing. You have no idea how this will be when she returns. So how do I approach the impending lies and pushback? You have something to figure out. You really do. Because you've been allowing for her to break these boundaries. And what are you going to do about that? Do you really need her to know that you heard the phone conversations? She knows they were inappropriate. All of the evidence that you have, does it really matter that you have it because she knows it exists? And she knows it's wrong. And so you're just allowing her to get away with it. We don't need to convince them that their behavior is wrong. The people we need to convince of their inappropriate behavior are people who are slow. And I mean that in a gentle way. People who are mentally slow and truly don't have the capacity to understand. Somebody who doesn't have the capacity to understand because they don't have the level of intelligence or the social understanding, or maybe they even if they come from different cultures and social and are slow in understanding why this is a boundary we don't cross. Maybe they can have some more grace in understanding these things. But with our spouses, we have grace in that they're going through a crisis and all of these things, but where we don't give them the pass, we're not going to give them a pass and saying, well, I didn't know I was having an affair. Sometimes I'll give them a pass and friendships do get out of control. And there's this threshold where suddenly it became more than a friendship. And there does come a point where suddenly, oh, I didn't know that. Suddenly you're there and the other person kisses you and like, I didn't know that person was thinking of it that way. And you're going, how could you have not? Yeah, some people are idiots. But for the most part, and yours has been going on for a few years. She knows what it is. She's told her she loves her. She said it in a romantic way. She knows. So it's not about boundary setting. It's about consequence. What are the consequences? It's about application of a consequence. That's what you have to figure out. What do you do? You're wondering, how do you approach the return with impending lies and pushback? Because you're thinking you're going to approach this and that there's going to be some conversation here. It needs to be something different than what you're thinking. And I don't know what that looks like because I don't know about the dynamics that you have had with her in the past. I can tell you it's probably not going to be pleasant anyway because these are difficult things. We need to talk is always scary anyway. But you know what? It starts with you and I both know that you have been having an inappropriate relationship with so-and-so. And no, I don't like ultimatums, but it's been going on long enough and she's already made a choice. So it's time that you make a choice. And I am not saying stop standing. I'm not saying that. But she has the best of both worlds now. Right now, she gets to come home where the bills are paid. I mean, maybe both of you work, and so you're both contributing. But in other words, she gets to come home where she is not having this fear that there's, not that I want it to happen, but there's assets being split. And that she's losing half of this. The stress of that. So she gets the stability of this environment with you, even though it's not pleasant at home. And then she gets that. Why change it? What is her incentive to change it? Because it doesn't seem like she's tried to. So I want you to think about that. Okay? It doesn't seem like, I haven't seen you talk about the friend pressuring her. In the beginning, it was that the friend is so much younger, she seemed like a vulnerable thing. Poor baby, she could help her out. And she could be a mother and maternal figure. But I haven't seen pressure. I haven't seen borderline personality, affair down alienator, emotional blackmail. Not that you have described. It might be there, but I haven't seen that. And so I don't know what's going on in the dynamics between that relationship. We're not giving it a chance. Okay? So I think the onus is on you to do something. Sorry. Okay. But I hope this helps. And I will see everybody in the next question.